I was like, well, obviously these things need to happen not between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but then I'm running an election. So there was like a 10-day window between the end of the election and leaving for Thanksgiving, which we're in the middle of, which is like everything is going. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, I wanted to talk about small town elections again for this election season. I was thinking about that.
It got wild.
I bet it did. I bet it did.
Yep.
Oh man, I don't know if that's live stream pod talk, but maybe at a
Yeah. We won. So.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, that's good.
Women's rights live to see another day.
Hey, one more.
One more. We'll see how it goes.
And our mascot.
And Timber is ready for the live stream.
Yes.
You both don't have access to, that's so weird. Sorry, I'm sharing the new share link to the notes. Okay, try that one, which looks like the same one.
I'm in.
You're in? Okay.
No, I am.
Okay, cool. Just I pasted 2 weeks ago, our goals are here. Do we know if Courtney is still gallivanting and production heavy at this moment? We'll find out. We'll find out in a few minutes.
I think maybe, because I think last week we might have caught her in the window between her production and their production. And she might now be in their production.
Oh, wow.
But I'm so curious to find out what happened. Her accidental feature.
Yes.
It's so beyond me. Like, I can't even travel like 2 states away. So the idea of like making a movie on a different continent is so beyond my comprehension right now. It's amazing. Oh, there she is. She's coming. She could tell us.
Excellent. She can tell us.
Hello. Oh.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, I look crazy, so I think I'm gonna turn my video off for this live stream because I traveled today and it's real humid here. So I'm just gonna spare the internet from how I look right now. You're welcome, internet. I like look nuts.
That's not true, but okay.
Okay, thanks. Well, I just look like I'm in a very humid place and I've been up since 4:30, which is accurate.
So where are you now?
That's a great question. So I'm in Jamaica right now.
What?
I know, I was like, oh my god, I feel like every week I'm on a call in a different place. I'm co-directing and producing a branded like fashion documentary piece here. So yeah, I got in this morning and it's very humid. A shower. Yeah,
you're living like the most exciting life. Like
it does seem like it. It's like a crazy month. I was like, this isn't normally what like my life looks like, I don't think, but maybe it will be, who knows. But yeah, I had to schedule a call for something and was like, so I'm really sorry, but there's only 2 days that like I can be on the East Coast time. But yeah.
So can you tell us about your accidental feature?
Oh, I can. Oh yeah, now like my video is off. Maybe I can find a place to put it that it looks less humid.
Look, an important thing in the world is to put more images of women not looking perfect.
That's true. All right, here. What if I sit here?
Social justice, you don't look crazy.
Okay, great. I just look very humid. I don't know how to turn off this back. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm gonna unblur. Yes, here I am sitting on the floor in a house. Yeah, so basically a friend who's a DP was shooting a feature in Madrid. And so I met him on a film shoot in August. The Here Study came on and he was like, oh, I'm working on this feature in Madrid, like I'm DPing in October or November. And I was like, that's cool, you should bring me on. I want to go work on a film in Madrid. And he was like, do you speak Spanish? I was like, okay, never mind. And then we were like, what if we make a different movie and we all go to Spain? So like my second AD and I were like coming up with all these ideas for things. And he was like, sure, if you come up with something, yeah, whatever. I'm going to be there with the camera. So it started as like a crazy idea. And then I remembered in all our conversations, it's like, oh, I actually have a project that's set in Spain. Or it's not set in Spain necessarily, but it's based on a thing that happened in Spain. So my ex worked with this couple. It was like an office romance. And they'd only been dating for maybe a few months, and they went on a vacation together to Spain, and one of them drowned on vacation. And I was kind of obsessed with the idea of what the other person did. Like, what would you do if you don't speak the language? You're in a foreign place. Like, had he met her parents? Like, do you have to call them? Do you have to pack all of her stuff to bring it home? Do you deliver it to that? Like, how do you, like, just the logistics of it? So that was maybe 6 years ago that he like told me this story, and I kind of became obsessed with it and wanted to write something about it. And I wrote a few different versions. Although in my version, the guy drowns because, you know, no one wants to watch a man for 2 hours. Good thinking. And so I showed the script to some people. I was like trying to make it as a feature, and everyone was like, please don't make this feature. Like, nothing happens in this movie. Can you make it a murder mystery? Can you make it a ghost story? Can you make it a genre piece? And I wrote a few different versions. I've probably written 5 versions of the script, and in different places. Like, one version was in Iceland, and like one version was in Mexico. And I was like, maybe we can go to shoot there for really cheap, and we'll just drive the crew to Baja. And so I kept trying to shape it into things that people wanted it to be, and it never felt right. And then when it was the version I liked, which is just someone dealing with like grief, people are like, that's so boring, don't make that movie. So so I was like, I have this idea, so maybe we could do a proof of concept. It's basically, in my version of it, on the second day of this vacation, the guy drowns at the beach, and she freezes and doesn't know what to do. So she doesn't do anything. She just doesn't say anything. She doesn't tell anyone. She just like keeps being on vacation. And then on like 3 days later, she meets this bartender who's really nice to her. And so she goes back to see her the next day, and they have this sort of fling. And she confides in her what happened. And this woman's like, oh my God, you're a horrible person. Like, what do you mean you didn't do anything? And she sort of recoils and then goes back to the sea and like pretends it just happened so she can sort of like save herself in her inaction, and like calls his mom and packs his stuff and like leaves with 2 suitcases. So most of the movie is this woman alone in this place, like experiencing these emotions in a crowd of tourists, basically trying to avoid having feelings that she's never had before. So there's maybe 3 scenes of dialogue in the whole movie. And I was like, maybe that's why the script didn't really work, because there's like not really, no one really says anything. It's just like an experience. Like, it's kind of, I guess, art house in that sense. But I think the story is interesting. So yeah, we went out to do the proof of concept and then just kept shooting. And it was, so Jordan, who DP'd it, /gaffed, /gripped, did all the things. And then we hired a local sound mixer for 4 of the days. And then my lead actor, that was the other part. So like, one of my good friends who's an actor, she went to Barcelona for vacation. She got laid off while she was there, and was like, well, I'm just going to stay here for another 2 months. So she was like, yeah, I'm in Barcelona, I'm going to stay. And I was like, oh, I have an actor and I have a camera and I have a DP. I guess I should go and make it. So it was a little bit last minute. I was like, I have this concept, like, do you want to be the lead in this project? And she was like, yeah, I just went through a breakup and then I got laid off and I don't know what to do with my life. She's like, I could totally wander Barcelona and like feel so many emotions. Like, I'm down. So then the producer from the Madrid movie, that was like the actual movie that Jordan was supposed to go shoot, was like, who is this insane American woman? Like, we'll come help for a day. So like, he came and helped for a day and helped us like rent some lights for like one day that we had lights. And his wife was like the actress. And then yeah, so it was kind of this weird mix of like whoever wanted to play joined the party. But yeah, we ended up shooting like 36 scenes. I just kept a log in a spreadsheet. There's no script ever, which I would not do again. It's a little too mumblecore for me because the dialogue scenes were also like improv, and learning to shoot in ways to think of for the edit was an exercise that I hadn't done before and I don't want to do again. So I learned that. Yeah, so we shot a lot and we're like, well, if it's good, then we probably could put a feature together out of this. And if it's not good, then we'll just like shave off some other parts and make it a proof of concept short. But then what's the concept for? I don't know. Yeah, and there's like a lot of the scenes that were kind of picked. So like there's a lot of us we spent a day just going around Barcelona shooting and like shooting in crowds, and Jordan for like moving doors out of the way. And sometimes you're like, okay, like now here, stop, like now you're embarrassing all of us. But yeah, it was an adventure. And then the pieces that we did shoot, they were like the Airbnb where she and this guy had been staying, like they're very like chosen like locked off wides, and so hopefully the contrast will be nice. But yeah, it was an interesting experiment. We just kept shooting until we like the host was like, hey guys, can you get out of my apartment? So yeah, it was good, I think. And yeah, I learned definitely, I mean, you can make a movie with no one. I don't recommend it. I think that was the biggest lesson, was like I would, having a script's really nice, and having a crew is really cool too. So like having to keep track of so many different things. It helped that most of the movie is just one actor, but yeah, there's a lot of just everyone had to pitch in and everyone had to produce and everyone had to like be involved and be on all the time. We shot for 6 days, so by the last day I think we were all a little bit like loopy. But yeah, we got some really beautiful footage, and I cannot believe we did it with like 4 humans. So yeah, but also like Jordan shoots that way a lot. Like he co-directs and DPs and like does micro budget films all the time, and I've been doing production for so long. And Angelia, who's the lead actor, like she also is like has a producing background and project management, so everyone having those skill sets helped a lot. Like I think if we had been less experienced, it would have been a nightmare. But because it's what we do all the time, it was a lot easier to sort of just step in and be like, okay, this is what we have to do, and this is, someone has to do this because we don't have this person, but we know that someone should be doing it. So that like that helped. And just asking for help, like we just like we asked this one whiskey bar, like, hey, can we shoot here? Like we just shamelessly asked for things, and we're like, if they say no, we'll ask the next one, which I think is like a big part of indie filmmaking, is to just embarrass yourself a lot. And yeah, so it kind of miraculously all fell together, but we'll see. I now have to like find someone to sync the footage, and sound design is going to be not fun, because shooting guerrilla is not great for sound. But yeah, I think that's the whole overall experience.
I
So
wish there were a documentary crew following you.
I do too. I did take some videos on like TikTok and stuff, and it's usually just like Jordan like saying sarcastic things and us like rolling our eyes at each other, which is great content, I guess. But yeah, I kind of wish there was more. I kept trying to like put my phone down in places to like document the madness, but it was just too many things happening. Yeah, and us just like going back to this tiny little apartment at night and like looking through to be like, put together some rough dailies to be like, did we get something today? Like, does it look okay? Like, oh, what is, okay, let's throw a lead on it and see like if this worked. Very little sleep, but yeah. yeah, I wish there had been more like documenting of them. Like some days I was like, what are we doing? Yeah. Like we used like toilet paper at one point because we didn't have like muslin. So we were like, well, we'll just like tape some toilet paper to this guy's light. And I think I have a video of that. Where it's don't videotape. Like I don't want people to know we did this. Or like putting like socks up to like because we didn't have diffusion. It's just like total. It was a mess. But it was very creative problem solving, I guess.
And-
Well, we worked with what we had, which is little.
So I assume that none of these 4 people were paid.
Well, I paid the sound mixer. I
Okay.
paid her. No one else got paid. We Angelia also really likes spreadsheets, so we made a spreadsheet of all the costs because I had points so I could fly. Like I didn't have to pay for my flight. And he was being flown for the shoot he actually was being like paid to work on, and then she was there anyway. So that helped, but it was, I think we spent just under $2,000 altogether, which is very small for a movie. And then, yeah, I mean, it's like going to be a whole other thing, but
Yeah. And did you work out any agreement between the 3 people who
Oh.
didn't get about?
yeah, so we talked about, I haven't put together contracts yet, but I talked about sort of what I like asked you guys about the other week about, is there like, how do you value creative capital? And it's like, we're all producers, but what does that mean? So we're going to do investor contracts essentially for everyone and put an amount. And then that way, and we'll do it tiered too, so that it's not, so there's like a majority if like we had to vote or on anything or whatever. But everyone will have a contract saying they invested like X amount of money in the film so that they're first in on the waterfall. And I got to explain the waterfall to Angelia, so we had another little waterfall conversation. So that's the plan. And then we'll see, I'll pay an assistant editor to sync all the footage. And then I might do the first pass of an edit and then bring on someone to clean it up because it was very docu style in some ways. So I think there's a lot of finding the story and the performances we got at different points, but I'd have to really go through because a lot of times I was like spotting camera, so I wasn't looking at what we were getting all the time. So yeah, I think that's the current plan. And then we'll see, like if we brought in someone else on the post side who just was excited about the story and wanted to come in the same way, we would just do the same thing versus doing points. Cause I don't know, it's like, we're the only people who've like we put in a week of our lives and that alone is like time, it's valuable. So yeah, that's the plan. I just haven't done them yet, but we talked about it. I was like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, does that work for everyone? And they all are on board.
And for anybody who's putting in actual money, like I don't know, 2,000 was yours or whatever, does that also get counted into the same contracts?
Yeah, I guess it would be the same. Because if you like, did the math at the value of what people put in goods wise, it's about like what we would put in as the investment amount. So yeah, if we got money coming in, we would do the same. And I guess just like pari passu across the board, since we don't know who's coming in when or how or if. So I think that makes the most sense. And then everyone also I got to direct something, so that's great. And then I'm hoping the story works out and be like, haha, everyone told me how to make this. And then Angelia, it's like she's like, the movie's mostly her face, so that's like a great deal as an actor. And because she just got laid off of like her day job, she's like, great, I want to like do more of this. I want to like produce and act and whatever. And I did both, so that's like really nice to go back to LA and have this. And then Jordan has a great piece for his reel, so everyone is also like getting something that's just like, I guess creative capital is the only way I can think of describing it, but also getting that out of the project. So even if the investment side is like whatever never pans out or turns into a short or whatever it is, everyone still walks away with like something valuable from the week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very awesome. I look forward to next week when you are in Prague.
You're like the Carmen San Diego of the group.
Yeah, my family says too. They're like, "Where are you? What are you doing?" Whatever. Honestly, yeah. I don't think it's always like that. I mean, this year, well, all right, maybe, yeah. This month in particular is like really crazy. Where I'm just like, oh, hey, I was just in this terminal. Like, so yeah. Uh, yeah.
I think that was a really wonderful update. Thank you, Courtney. I think with our remaining time, just because we're ending early, it might be good to just focus on the accountability aspect of our meeting together right now, just because
Yeah.
and if you look at the notes that are in the chat, Courtney, we have the 3 of ours from a few weeks ago, but maybe we could start with you, what you want to be held accountable by the next meeting, and then I can take
Yeah.
notes.
So on one of these flights, I finished putting notes into the baby moon script. So I need to just reread it and then maybe do a brain trust and get notes. It's like an earlier draft, but I think it would help to have outside eyes because I feel like I'm very like in the middle of it and I like can't see it anymore.
Who's next?
You go.
Are we reporting back on our old one and forward?
Yeah, I think so.
So yes. So we did our reading yesterday of the movie. It was really exciting and vomit inducing like it always is. But it was super helpful. We also attached our director.
Oh yeah.
For
Who is it?
Catherine Eaton.
Who?
Catherine Eaton.
Oh, I know that name. Thanks. It's very
Who is? Wait, that sounds so familiar.
I feel like she's moved in circles that probably have intersected with y'all. She directed this really wonderful film called The Sounding, that she wrote, directed, starred in. And she started off as an actress, and was like a very successful theater actress, like on Broadway, and then moved into filmmaking, and it's fabulous.
Are you playing one of the roles?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I assumed.
Yep. So we did the reading. It was really exciting. This week, we're going to synthesize the notes as a 3-person team now and decide what to do for the next rewrite. So pulling on all of your notes and from the reading, and also just thoughts we've had since the last rewrite. So that's what we're doing.
awesome.
Oh,
And just as a reminder, your accountability from last week was to do nothing. So, or 2 weeks ago. So you didn't abide by your assignment, Naomi, is what I'm giving you a hard time about. I think it was 2 weeks ago. It was like, don't write. Oh, well, it does say.
So I think it's just like, I don't have to write because we have a complete draft and we're not going to do another draft until this reading.
Okay, I'm just saying you were an overachiever.
Right.
Is what. Whatever. Alicia.
So I'm up to 17 pages on this script.
Awesome.
Little by little, we are getting there. I decided on a name for the newsletter, which is And Then We Kissed, pardon me, And Then They Kissed is what the name is. And then I've been holding on to that name for a bit, and struggling with, I'm like, the name of my company is Canon Divergence, but I was like, And Then They Kissed is much more in line with what I'm doing. And so I've since decided to change the name and reorganize everything under the brand of And Then They Kissed. So I am going with the newsletter that you suggested, Liz, and doing reviews, book reviews, but in the specific way that I did it on the Instagram account, which is more like, you will like this book if you like these certain things, instead of just a typical review, which works a little better for how I like to discuss books. I've decided to rewrite the short Black Sage as a narrative short fiction and give that away for free when you sign up for the newsletter. So that is what I'm focusing on now, is adapting it into, I've never done it this way. I've done it the other way, but I've never done it backwards to go from screenplay to narrative. So that should be interesting. And then continue writing. I think I'll be done, actually. I've been writing all day, actually. So I think I'll be done with the first act by today if I continue. And, you know, so unsurprisingly, script is not what I said it was going to be.
Like writing.
I was like, oh, so we're not set in Miami. I just figured that out today. Like in my mind, I was setting this in Miami, but apparently it's set in Vegas. So twists and turns.
It could be Prague.
It could be Prague. I need to live my life like Courtney, honestly.
We all do. We all do.
Oh boy.
Okay, so my goal 2 weeks ago was to launch the Patreon, pick the date, and set first AMA. All things were done. The Patreon is launched. We have 48 or 49 Patreon patrons.
Woo!
Very proud of
Amazing,
that.
Liz. That's
Yay.
so awesome.
Very proud of that. The date I picked arbitrarily is May 8th is our start day. I think it's going to end up being a little later, but I'm telling people it's May 8th. So that's what we're doing for day one of the shoot. And I had my first AMA with Patreon backers and recorded it. And I was telling Naomi, I really felt like a shocking amount of excitement, like from the very few, I was like 8 people on the AMA, and they were like, oh, this is very exciting. We want to do this. We want to hear everything about this. So I just think there's like a real hunger for all of this. So
Yeah.
be prepared when you launch your respective campaigns. We're on to something. We finished our latest draft. It's out for notes. We're getting notes back on Tuesday, and we'll be opening up the script again. And I'm making serious progress with my producers. I've tiered out my producers. I have lead producers. I'm in the process of reconfirming key crew and doing regular production meetings now is where we're at. So,
Amazing.
making a movie. We don't have money, but we're making a movie.
That's how you got to start, I think.
Yeah.
You
How
just say it and then you're like, oh, it's happening.
And
It
if you're
just does it all.
Courtney, if you're Courtney, 2 weeks later, you have made your movie, which
No, I was like, I just paid $2,000, right? I could just
Or
do
yeah,
this.
there's that version. Or just like when you tell people things, people just like believe you, and then you're like, oh, now I believe myself. Oh, okay, cool. I'm on set,
It's crazy.
so it's magic.
Liz, how often are you doing AMAs?
I was thinking monthly. What's I guess I don't know if this is noteworthy, but I need to figure out a way to kind of create some boundaries within the patron relationship, because I've had after the AMA, I had 2 people who were like, I want more from you. Like explicitly, they were like, I want more. And I need to figure out how to say, I can't give you more. Like this, I don't want to give you more. This is what I want to do. So I'm thinking monthly AMAs, and I'm trying to do weekly videos that just are direct addressing what happened that week. And then, and then I have to create a drive that's like an internal drive for my production team. And then a drive that's a Patreon drive, like a shadow drive with all the things that patrons have access to. So it's like a weird dual campaign. So I'm trying to figure out tenor, the whatever the word rhythm is that people use that starts with a T.
Cadence. Everyone's obsessed with this word lately. Have you noticed this for the last 2 years?
Is that the word? Is it tenor that I'm thinking? What is
Cadence.
Cadence? Thank you, cadence. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out some word other than cadence that doesn't drive you nuts of posts And then I have to figure out how to say no to people.
When
Just-
people told you they wanted more, did they elaborate on that?
I can pull up the email. It's like, it was an email from this guy that I don't really know. And he showed up, I had like a few strangers show up to the AMA, and that was really wonderful, question mark. I mean, like I was
That's a
happy,
good thing.
like, yay, right? Like excited.
You want
but-
Now send
strangers.
us
You
locks
need,
of your
you need
hair.
strangers.
I do need, yeah, you're right. I should just celebrate it. This email's recap / expectations. And he says, what does he say? Regardless, this is a genius process. And honestly, if it's okay with you, I'd love to interact more with the story, not just on a month basis, but more frequently, bi-weekly, a couple of times throughout the month. Here's my phone number. I'm on the East Coast. Have a blessed day. It's just like, it's a lot. And so, yeah, so I owe something.
As somebody who has spent years dealing with this kind of thing, you just have to set gently but kindly set very firm boundaries. And like, I'm so moved that you want more. And like, this is what I said is what I have time to do. And if that doesn't feel worth it to you, that's totally fine. But this is
the deal.
yeah. And I have coaching services available for $200 an hour.
I know, that's right.
Yeah.
And then I had another filmmaker reach out to me who's gave to our podcast Patreon and has been emailing me. This happens every now and then, right? Like people from the podcast kind of come into my personal world. And he's like, I have a movie that I'm doing this with, and I'm really interested in that caravan idea. So he wants to come after, right? But he, again, wants to be more included in the internal process. So yeah, I'm going to have to just kind of say, I'm figuring things out right now. I'll let you know what my plan is when I know it. But you can ask more questions in the AMA or feel whatever.
Yeah.
Be gentle.
But firm, gentle, but firm. No.
So we have
Liz,
our
that's so awesome that you have so many people subscribed already.
Thank you.
I'm like a week and a half, right?
Yeah, and I haven't even done a welcome video. And I also, there's so many blind spots. Like Alicia caught a really obvious blind spot that I hadn't caught, which I kept on saying AMA, and I never even once defined what an AMA was on the page. And like, I don't have a welcome video. I launched with just like a scant paragraph that was like, this is a StoryMate project. Pay what you want, all levels. Love, Liz. Like, so I'm trying to create a better welcome experience to help with that. I keep forgetting that strangers are going to join us, so I have to contextualize for strangers.
But most
Alicia,
importantly, you started.
Yeah. You started and the world responded. And
Yes.
that's
You're responding. It's real. Should we mention the press piece takeaways, or I'm trying to think of, is that helpful? Anyone?
sure. I also just want to jump on the Patreon thing. So I an idea come in the shower, as all my best ideas do. That I think for myself, because I personally have been like on the verge of launching a Patreon for like 3 or 4 years. I even made a video 2 years ago and just like for some reason never pulled the trigger, like could never pull the trigger or like figure out exactly what I wanted to do with it. But I think hearing about what happened with Liz, I think what I would like to try is launching a Patreon that is around myself. So not around a specific film, but around myself. So that because there are so many different streams of reasons that people are in my sphere, I think it would be limiting to just do the film. But say to people, all of the, come for whatever, come for the women in film, come for the filmmaking, come for the death doula stuff, come for whatever you want. But all of the funds from this will go to fund my movies. And say like, I want to make a film every 2 years. And the budget of that film will grow in direct proportion to how many people are part of this Patreon, which is not to say that I can't raise money outside of it, but I want to see if I can solve the funding and distribution problem at the same time.
Yeah, I was thinking similarly, in that one, because I know people who will support me and could care less about my films.
Mhm.
And so I don't want to, one, I don't want to leave anybody out, but I was trying to figure out how to communicate that best and to make it more about supporting projects plural and not having to sign up for different projects as I go. So yeah, I was thinking of either doing it around And Then They Kissed or around me,
Mhm.
myself, particularly when I was looking at your Patreon, Liz, because it's
Mhm.
your name and not your film, right? Like
Yeah.
it is your film, but when you go to the Patreon, it's your name. So you can change it to whatever it is, but people will still be supporting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, that is a default because I did run a Patreon like 4 years ago where I just did AMAs on distribution on a weekly basis when I was at Sundance. And anyway, it caused a lot of issues because when I renewed the Patreon, it greenlit those like 20 people who were already supporting me and reactivated their contributions. And honestly, only one person has noticed. I sent them all emails being like, please pay attention. Like, this is a new campaign. And everyone else just kind of acquiesced. And either they don't want to offend me or they haven't checked their credit card statements on a regular basis. This is all to say, like, it wasn't a purposeful decision. It was because I used to run like a consulting AMA. But now I'm hearing what you're saying, and maybe it was a good accident that just happened.
Yep. Idiot. What else do we have to chat about today?
Press.
Yeah, so Liz and I so remember we ran that survey to collect filmmakers' data, and we got 104 filmmakers sent us their data. And then a lot of things happened, including an election, but we this week got back to actually starting to analyze the data. And it is so interesting. There is so much good information in there. So being the overachiever I am, I came to Liz and I was like, we can't just write an article. We have to do like a white paper about this. This is like way too much information.
Of course.
But it's okay. I just mean like a long form thing. So this week I'm going to draft that and then Liz is going to edit it. But the data analysis is done, which did take a lot of time. But it's like, I was saying to Liz, this is the information I've always wanted, like actual statistical information around like, around films that aren't the golden elevator films, but are like the film world that we're living in around, like what's actually making money, how many of these things are making money, in what year period does that change? What about how important is cast? How important is genre? Like it's all there. It's so exciting. So we'll be sharing, so we're going to do a longer form thing and then extract out to like an article to get published to then drive people back to the white paper. But hopefully by the end of the year, that'll all be out.
Can you give a tiny spoiler of something interesting?
Cast is not okay. So cast. So in these films, right? So we're not talking about like, it's Tom Cruise, whatever. Like there's like 50 people at the top who definitely matter. But in terms of the film's ability to make money, it's like you either need 1 through 50 or you need below 10,000, like in the star meter. Or you need people who are super not famous and are just working for scale and are really good actors. But the death zone is the middle. So like, this is where all these filmmakers get trapped because you feel like having somebody who's kind of famous is better than having people who are not famous. But because of the system, you always end up paying those people more, which then hurts your ability to actually make money on the film. And they probably don't bring enough value to actually justify the amount of money you're paying them.
That actually makes so much sense too, because I feel like even as an audience, when you're like, oh, I recognize this person or whatever, and it feels off when they're like, this is the one person that you can tell that was like, I don't know, like it skews things. I and I know like working on projects that have done that too, it does change some of the dynamics and sort of like, yeah, just hierarchy and things on a set, and that does bleed into performance and certain things like, so it makes sense. So I'm like, oh, that's cool that the data says it, because like I've seen it in real life play out and you're like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, oh, we have this one person who's like a name in the sense, but then it really does like affect other aspects of the filmmaking process. But I'm like, it doesn't make it better, or is the audience, are you expecting the film to be better in other departments, or like a better quality because you recognize this one person, but that one person doesn't carry like everything out, like doesn't make it a bigger budget film. So
Yeah.
it's like, you notice it being off. It's like when the sound is off a little bit, you don't know what it is, but there's like something that's like bothering you and like subconsciously. So yeah,
I
that's
think
really good to know.
that plus it's just like, is this a person that will make people go, okay, yeah, I'll see that film because that person is in it. And that is a tiny number of actors who have that kind of relationship. I think unless you're very smart about it, like I think Liz brought this up, like if you have somebody who has a huge fan base in the audience, I think
Yeah.
it's a different story. But I just think filmmakers get hoodwinked into paying more than scale for actors that actually are not worth it for the film.
And I feel like too, the actors, a lot of times on things that I've worked on where it's sort of greener directors too, and the actors are more professional just in that they work all the time or they're on set. Like there is that, like they're not being directed the same way the other actors are, because they're kind of given like free reign a little bit, but they're not good directors, they're just good actors. So then you have like these sort of like little bit off on the perform, where like no one's in charge, like no one's,
Yeah.
or they're like afraid to give direction to someone who's like at a higher level than they are as a director. So there's like this weird sort of like psychology, I think, that plays in as well. So even if you're like excited about seeing this one person in a thing, like sometimes the performances suffer from it on directors who aren't as confident enough to work with someone. They're like, oh, but they're like a real actor, and you're like, this doesn't mean anything. So yeah, that makes so much sense.
Okay,
But that's so good to know.
yeah, and there's like
That's like everyone gets tricked into that.
so much more. I have to go run a film club.
Okay, well,
I'll see you all next week.
bye.
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 What do we talk about now?
No.
What do we do?
I see there's something here for NFTs. What is that about?
Oh, I had someone like an acquaintance email me. Sorry, I'm feeling like weirdly weird about my admission, realizing that we were live streaming, and I feel like I was shitty, like gossiping about a private email that I got that it's now being broadcast to the public. So if you're listening to this, I'm sorry if I exposed a private email that you sent me. I just feel like I had to say that on the same link. A colleague of mine just said he was really into NFTs and he thought that I should get into them for fundraising. Like all of us receive these kind of solicitations. And so I'm booking a call with him probably this week to hear his perspective.
Let us know.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to find out what you learn about NFTs. I am very resistant to them. There's nothing, there's no real reason I'm resistant to them. It's just like, it's not real. Like, it's just not a real thing that you can hold or that you can like visualize. And if I'm making a movie, that's a real thing that exists in the world. And I'm just having trouble connecting the NFT sphere and like the value people place on things with making an actual product that exists in the world that is tangible. So
I get it.
I'm very interested to see what you glean from this meeting when it comes to NFTs and filmmaking.
And when I brought up NFTs, I had a producer meeting, my first producer meeting like last week or 2 weeks ago. And we brought up NFTs and like half the producers were like, fuck NFTs, no thank you. And the other half were like, we should investigate. Like it just seems to split people too in like a very passionate way. Yeah, I think it's more like I don't have any money, so I'll go through every single tunnel that I need to go through to start fundraising.
What else? Is there anything else on here that we didn't talk about?
Press piece.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. We're so efficient.
Well, it's like, I think these meetings could expand to more than just accountability, but when they're on the short end, it feels like safer to kind
Yeah.
of just go into that milieu and make sure that we're there for each other and that we're like leaving that space. But I mean, I was also kind of thinking like, how could we use this time? Maybe in a future meeting, we could discuss a topic more substantially than just going back and forth.
You know what we do need is to figure out what the question is for the welcome email for StoryMade when people sign up. I don't know. I think you were shooting your accidental feature when we had this discussion, Courtney. So when you sign up for StoryMade currently, nothing happens.
Okay.
You just sign up for it. But I did make a welcome email to send out to people, but one part of it just has a question that we can ask people so that we can sort of get a conversation started. So it would be great to figure out like what that question could be and what is a good conversation starter for folks. So I can automate it and start sending it out.
We should talk about that next week when we're all on like top of the meeting. I think would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know at least I have to check to see how many signups
Well, that's what I want to know.
we have. I know we have at least one. I know that much.
Well, me too, right?
Okay, so then we have at least 2.
Yeah. It's not bad. We just doubled our audience in like 30 seconds.
But I also think like for StoryMade in particular, I think like it would be good for all of us to pick a day and like actually push StoryMade on all of our socials.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like we've actually pushed it. It's just something that we're doing and that we've like, we mentioned, like I've mentioned it to a bunch of people, but we haven't had like any, hey, we're here, this is what we're doing, for the world.
I think we were waiting for the press piece to be released, and then the press piece became a bigger and bigger deal every time Naomi and I talked about it. So I just want to take responsibility for the fact that like early on we were going to announce it months ago, and then we're like, we'll just wait till we finish this press piece, right? But we should. And sorry, Courtney, what were you saying?
I was gonna say next week we should just make that the topic, is like how we're putting it out, how we're like scheduling and strategically, and that can be kind of the conversation. I think would be good.
Yeah. By the way, I mentioned this to Naomi, but I'm on TikTok now and I'm getting into it and I like it.
Following me on TikTok though?
What?
Are you following me on TikTok?
Are you following me? We should follow each other.
Do that. It's the same as my Instagram. It's just Courtney Teron. So it's really easy. You can see the few things I got in Spain.
Cool. Yeah.
And what's your TikTok, Liz?
It's just my name, and I'm posting distribution tip of the day. And just kind of doing that. But I think what could be interesting is I was going to start talking about the Patreon on TikTok in between posts, and we could start talking about StoryMade, just kind of peppering thoughts. I only have like 24 followers, but I'm going to get there.
Yes, I'm going to follow you. I'll follow you both. You will be you two and my sister. That will be the 3 people I follow on TikTok.
It works. I like it. I don't look at other people. I just look at my own stats. So I need to look at other people.
I look at what my friend sends me. He curates my TikTok for me and just sends me things he finds interesting.
My TikTok for a long time was just my sister and brother-in-law sending me stuff that they thought was funny. And I was like, this is a good version of this.
Yeah.
I don't even have it. I would just be like, cool, this is what I gotta watch now.
That
Yeah.
homepage is tough. I don't like going to that homepage.
I'm like, don't curate it for me. I don't
Yeah,
like
it's
it.
people like getting hit. Like my homepage is all people getting hit. I don't know what
Hmm.
that's about. It's very strange.
Mine
It's
is all
like-
puppies.
Oh,
I'm doing it wrong. Clearly, I'm doing it wrong. What did I do to get this? To get the hit people getting hit thing? So strange.
It's golden retrievers being cute. That's my homepage.
I did get the golden retriever helping a duck walk across, like picking up a duck with its mouth and like petting it. I got that one.
Okay.
And then I got someone being hit right afterwards. So like,
I don't know what's going on with your algorithm.
God. I might hop off if that's cool,
Yeah.
because I still have to talk about the scout I'm going on tomorrow. But I will follow at least Liz on TikTok. I don't know, am I following you on TikTok, or you only want your 3?
No, you can follow me on TikTok. There's nothing on there, at least for now. I should start doing it. I'm terrible at social media, guys, but that's a conversation for another day.
it's a horrible place, but you got to find some joy in it, right?
Yes.
In order to work as an artist in this industry. It's so annoying. Whatever. That's a topic for another day.
Yes, indeed.